Well, good afternoon. It's Rian Kutsia from Fortis Proactive Defense Solutions up here in Pretoria. I am speaking to Roux Wildenboer again, one of the main instructors of the Lone Operator course. Roux, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for your time.
Hi, Rian. Good to talk to you again.
So today we're having a bit of a general discussion about safety, while driving. I think something that ought to be of interest for pretty much everybody out there. General driving safety. Let's kick off with that. What are some of the everyday risks that drivers face on our roads? You know, things like this typical distractions. Well, we know those cell phones, fatigue, predictable routes, and what habits or awareness shifts can go a long way in helping to keep people safer when they are driving around.
Well, Rian, I think the first thing is what you said first. You know, I think in South Africa, too many people are glued to their phones while they're driving, especially when the vehicle comes to a stop at a stop street or a robot. And then that leaves them in the Cooper's color code white of awareness, which means they're actually completely unaware of what's happening around them. And the first thing that you hear victims of hijackings or carjackings say is that the attackers came out of nowhere. And they didn't. They didn't come out of nowhere. You would probably have been able to spot them coming from wherever they might have been coming from. So cell phones is a big thing. General unawareness. Also, when you're driving, in South Africa, everybody's in a bit of a rush, of course, always. So we tend to drive right up on the rear bumper of the car ahead of us, which limits our field of view. It creates, of course, the risk for an actual collision with another car. But also what it does is it doesn't give you any leeway. It doesn't give you any room. It leaves you no room at all to get away if there is a hijacking or an attempted hijacking on your car. One of the main themes in all of the instructing that Fortis provides regarding vehicle combat and anti-hijacking is that your car is your first and primary vehicle. So if you have no room to use that, or your car is your first and primary weapon. So if you have no room to use that car, then you can't use it effectively as a weapon either. Your first thing in a car is that you are sitting on a 1.5 or 2.5 ton weapon. But if you're boxed in close to other cars, then that actually eliminates your ability to use that weapon altogether. So cell phones, of course, in South Africa, with the roads and the drivers being the condition that they are, the risk is always there for you to be in an actual collision with another car. That leaves you then vulnerable to theft. I mean, we've seen so many instances of trucks breaking down to the side of the road, being looted, people breaking down or being in a collision just in the wrong area and then being stolen from, on top of now having a car collision to deal with. And then someone comes and takes your phone or takes your weapon or attacks you in some other way. So one of the big things and the main thing is to stay aware. And there's so many topics on this vehicle safety that we can get into, and we will now. But I mean, from the get-go, get off your phone and leave some following distance always.
And also something that I'm very prone to doing is try and not always use the same route when you go somewhere. There must of necessity be some predictability in where you drive, because you have your house to go to, or if you live in an estate, there's an estate gate, or you live in a cul-de-sac. So you are gonna have that sort of predictability. But if you go to, say, the Spar every day, try and vary your routes, try and vary the routes that you take away from your house and coming
100%.
back. And people don't do that. People tend to see that as, it's too much hassle.
People in South Africa tend to think that it won't happen to them, even though it's all over. People tend to read about hijackings and look at the videos while they're sitting on their couch at home, and then 5 minutes later they'll get into the car and the knowledge that they have gained through those videos is completely out the window. Then they forget, and they're in a different frame of mind, and then again what is the chances of it happening to me? And that's a fatal mistake, because organized crime syndicates and syndicates who focus on vehicle theft, they are organized and they do their homework beforehand. The tendency is for attackers who want your car to scope out the cars that they want and then actually observe you and put you under some form of surveillance for weeks actually ahead of the actual attack. So vary your route 100%. For many people on their daily commute, this is not entirely possible, but you also don't see that many hijackings happening on the highway. Okay, so if you're now there wondering, well, I need to find another way to work that doesn't include the highway because I drive the highway every time, that's not necessarily what it means, but it does help to change your time if you can, the time that you leave in the morning and that you arrive in the evening, the route that you take to and from the highway if you need to travel along the highway. And bear in mind that if you are driving a high risk vehicle, you may be under surveillance. I mean, the latest statistics, and they've stayed remarkably consistent for the last couple of years. The high risk vehicles are Toyotas of all kinds. Okay, especially, yes, the Hilux Buckies and the Fortuners, but also Corollas and other Toyota vehicles are in very high demand. And then second on that list is pretty much all of the VWs, all of the Volkswagens. So Polos specifically are stolen in massive numbers. And then those two groups, after those two groups, then it's Buckies and panel vans in general that are high risk in South Africa. So if you can, and if you're looking for a new vehicle, do take into consideration the type of vehicle that you want to buy and that there is a risk inherent to your choice in vehicle. If you are going to buy a Toyota Hilux, fantastic cars though they are, please bear in mind it is a high risk for hijacking. So just keep that in mind as well. And driving something that isn't as high risk, it certainly comes into the equation. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a pity about the Toyotas because their vehicles are good, but I do foresee that the Chinese brands specifically will start featuring more and more on that list as we go on, because those vehicles are slowly but surely taking over the market. If you look at the stats that come out now, the figures for the German automakers and even the Japanese automakers have their sales figures have taken a real beating. Because these vehicles manufactured in China, GWM, those kind of vehicles, they offer a lot of value for less. And
yes.
People, you see them on the roads more and more and more. So obviously
they're becoming very popular.
Yeah,
they're becoming very popular. As these vehicles become more popular throughout the rest of Africa. Remember, many of the vehicles that get hijacked in South Africa don't remain in South Africa. They get taken abroad, and Toyotas are very popular because there's a massive market and infrastructure for Toyotas in the rest of Africa. They can be serviced almost anywhere. And as other African and bordering countries also start seeing this change in market and increase in market share by the Chinese brands, I do expect that the hijackings may increase. But again, it's difficult to say, but I agree with you. Anything that's in high demand is in high demand for hijacking. And I think one thing that does go for them in their favor is that they are relatively cheap. Their spare parts are relatively cheap. So as opposed to, say, for instance, the Toyota, the spare parts are relatively expensive. So there's a big black market for spare parts, lights, mechanical components. Whereas with the Chinese brands, and as they take over the market, you may see that they increase in price slightly. I don't know. There's so many factors that factor into this formula of is your car high risk or not. But I agree with you completely that you may see some changes as the market changes in South Africa.
Yeah, and it's difficult to say to someone, don't buy it, because I've got this absolute love for a good Bucky and a double cab Bucky, and the Toyotas are
superb.
They are just superb, man.
No,
so of course, now all the Ford guys are going to get on our case. We're not trying to make a case for brands here. We're trying to make
the Fords are not that. The Fords are not that far down the list. They're also up there. They also feature on. If you go and Google any kind of what are the what do the car tracking companies say? What do the insurance companies say? They will give you incredibly good data. The Fords are also on that list. We're not discriminating, but yeah, at the moment the Toyotas are very, very, very high risk.
You've touched on hijackings, and obviously that is it's not only a sad reality of life, but it's quite a scary reality. What red flags should drivers typically be watching for? And how would you reckon they ought to respond to minimize danger?
Right. So people crowding around your window, that's a big thing. So if someone is within a certain radius of your vehicle, there's always the chance that they may tap on your window with something like a weapon, with something like a gun. That is one of the big methods that we see with hijackings is someone coming right up to your window, tapping on the glass with a weapon, and then forcing you out of the car. So what I do personally is I don't remain stationary if there is someone right up close to my window. You see all of these guys trying to sell you sunglasses or car, logo tags and whatnot next to the side of the road or at the robot. I leave enough following distance for myself so that if that guy comes and approaches and does his rounds up the string of traffic, that I can gently and slowly move forward. So I keep my car moving at all times. So the first thing is don't remain stationary and allow a group or groups of people or multiple people right up close to your window. Don't allow that to happen. So keep moving, give them that indication that you are aware of them and that you have the freedom and the space to move if they try anything. Often you only need a couple of seconds to dissuade that attack. Okay. Another one is people that actually bump into you. So we are all familiar with bumper bashes in general traffic, and often we're so caught up in what is now going to happen. If it's in the morning, what's going to happen throughout the course of the day? You're thinking about work, what meetings you have to attend, what do you have to make for dinner that night. Your mind is completely somewhere else. So in the moment that someone perhaps gently just bumps into you from behind, automatically you climb out of the car and now you want to sort out the insurance, and you kind of lose your temper as well to an extent, because now it's drama and it's insurance and it's this and it's that. Don't do that. So if someone bumps into you from behind, very gently, stay in your car, don't switch your car off. And as I said, maintain following distance to the car ahead of you so that you can move away. Because what nowadays often happens is the attacking car or cars, they bump into you from behind, very likely, and they wait for you to exit the vehicle. And then as you exit the vehicle, they swarm out. You have no time to get back in your car, start it back up and drive away. And then they've got you. If there's 4 or 5 guys pointing guns at you and you're out of your car and you've been caught, sort of with your pants down, proverbially speaking, then the fight is actually over, right? Then you've lost the opportunity to do anything. So if you're in a collision like that, it's not a head-on, it's not someone T-boned you from the side, it's not a serious collision. If it's just a bumper basher, keep your wits about you, stay in your car, keep the car running, and wait for the other person. Look in your mirror, wait for the other person to get out of the car first and identify, is it a normal, also just a commuter, or do you see all 4 doors open up and people pouring out the sides? And if that's the case, then you put foot, then you have to put the car in first gear and drive away. Okay. So that's one thing that happens very frequently. Be wary of being followed. So, and all of this around comes down to maintaining awareness of what's happening around you on the road. So if you do see a car following you or driving the same route as you or taking the same turns as you are taking, immediately you need to register that, you need to notice it, you need to register that, and then you need to adapt. So then you need to try and establish, is this car really following me? And we'll get into that at the moment, but remain aware. And if that car is following you, you need to take evasive action. Try and get into a situation of there's many cars around you, many people, maybe a garage, whatever, stop there, try and throw them off to a certain extent. Big other red flags or things that you can identify as high risk areas. At the moment, the majority of hijackings are being done on Fridays. Okay, so because people are weary, they're in a different mindset, they're in a relaxed mindset. It's now the weekend time, so they're not paying attention. So hijackings happen on Fridays more than on other days. Also early in the morning when there's when people are headed to work, again, the mindset thing. And remember, the attackers try and target you when you are at your most vulnerable. So when you are the least expecting an attack. So when we're heading to work and when we're coming back from work, your mind is often somewhere else. So pay very close attention then. And there's a lot of traffic and a lot of people moving around. So pay very close attention to who's following you, and where you are. And like I say, stay aware and keep following distance. I cannot emphasize that enough.
Well, while we're talking about this, we can just as well talk about smash and grabs as well, because this is,
Yeah.
I mean, this happens all the time.
Yes.
In broad daylight, in like morning traffic
Wherever.
or afternoon traffic,
Yes.
you know. Yes, these guys are so quick, and it tends to be, it looks very violent because they smash a window, you know, with either a spark plug or they throw a rock through it or something. But it's the same principle. They catch you unawares,
Yeah.
and by the time you get over the shock, these guys they've grabbed a handbag, a phone, whatever. And of course,
Yeah.
sometimes I've seen it happen. Sometimes you gift it to them where you sit talking on your phone or Facebooking at the traffic light with your window open. I've actually seen that happen.
Yes. Happening. Absolutely.
This
Yeah.
woman was talking, she was busy on a phone, and she said afterwards she was Facebooking. And
Yeah. So
the window was open, and she was, you know, it was afternoon traffic, so the traffic was bad, and you couldn't really go anywhere because you sort of in the third lane out of four, and you kind of stuck. You can
yeah.
maybe keep distance to the car in front of you, but you're pretty boxed in. You know, you can't always control those factors.
Yeah.
And a guy literally walked up to the car, checked, grabbed the phone, and phew, he was gone. So fast. So the same principles. If you sit in Facebook or quickly send a WhatsApp, or
Yes.
even on your phone, you are so not focused on what's going on around you. Then and
Absolutely.
as you say, I think you mentioned it earlier. How often do you not hear they came out of nowhere? Whereas
100%.
you know, generally they don't. I mean, people get followed from the airport, from
Yeah.
Joburg Airport, the international airport, to their homes in Pretoria,
Yes. And
and
then
they never pick up on it
yeah.
because they are simply not aware.
Yeah.
I don't
So
know. I don't
on
know
that.
if one can overemphasize that. Roux, I just want to check with you. You mentioned this earlier, but maybe reiterate what condition are people generally in when they get surprised like that, if you're talking about the Cooper Color Code?
Yeah, so the Cooper Color Code, just as a quick recap, it's white, yellow, orange, red, and then black. So each color represents a level of awareness. People are generally in white, which means they're completely unaware of their surroundings when they're driving, and that's bad. You need to be at least in yellow, which is relaxed awareness. I'm not focused on any specific kind of threat, but I'm checking my 5-point check, I'm checking my mirrors, I'm checking my blind spot. That's what you need to be in when you are driving. So that means putting down your phone. It means not being distracted by other passengers. And that means to an extent, being able to control your kids if that's the case, or not allowing a passenger to speak to you or to talk to you in such a with such a gripping level, or in such an interesting conversation. At some point, you have to, sort of moderate that level of intensity and say, well, you do need to maintain focus on the road. With things like smash and grabs, there's a bit of a difference between the criminal that does a smash and grab and the criminal that's there to hijack you. Often the smash and grabbers are opportunistic criminals, so they are the guys standing next to the side of the road and they are watching for whatever comes past. So they are there spotting, oh, that person's on their phone. The organized crime that does hijackings and comes with multiple vehicles, and this is another thing, hijackings are commonly done with more than one vehicle and up to between 10 and 15 people. Okay, those numbers are, I mean, you speak to whoever, but there's more than one vehicle involved, and it's never just one or two people. Okay, at the very minimum, it's one car, and that car is full, 4 or 5 or 6 people. Okay,
That's your minimum, yes.
worst case scenario is there's 3 or 4 cars each of them full of people, and then you're dealing with between 15 and 20 people, okay? So that does happen. With smash and grabbers, don't put your valuables on the passenger seat next to you. Don't even put it in the front at the feet of the passenger seat, okay? Lock it away somewhere where it's not visible through the window. As same as with your phone, you know, don't have your phone visible. You know, you've got these magnetic phone holders that either fit into the car vent, or they glue them into the windshield, and then the phone sits there. I mean, that's a prime target that you are literally advertising, and there's an immense market for stolen phones. You're literally advertising that you have a phone, and it's right there within grasp. It's within an arm's length of the window. So if someone just breaks the window and grabs the phone, then you're done for. I mean, the important thing to do if that happens is not to necessarily pursue the person, okay? Because your life isn't really in danger anymore if he runs away. If that then turns into a life-threatening attack, well, I mean, we know what to do then. But normally, 99% of the time, they grab your handbag or they grab your cell phone and they run away. But you don't want to leave your vehicle open and unlocked or standing in the middle of the road and now run you into a scenario that you don't understand. Okay, that guy may have friends hiding in the bushes somewhere, and now you pursue that person. What happens if you catch them? Okay, do you now go into a fist fight for the phone? And then there's that to deal with, because maybe he beats you, maybe he punches you out. Now what? You know,
Exactly.
maybe there's 3 or 4 guys of his friends waiting for you, like I say, behind the bush. Now you're in an ambush. Now something much worse can happen, right? So insure your phone, insure your car. Don't advertise that you have it. And like I say, leave following distance. Give yourself room to move in the vehicle. So if you see someone coming up to your window who looks suspicious, I mean, anyone coming up to your window is suspicious. Nobody's got the right to come up that close to your window. And you will see, they always look into the car. They always, you may drive past, they look into the back seat. My sister was the victim of a smash and grab because she had a laptop in the passenger seat right next to her. She stopped for fuel at a garage, and they smashed and grabbed her out of a long line of cars. They walked right up to the window. They knew exactly which window it was, which car it was. So there's a big level of cooperation as well. I mean, if we say yes, it's opportunistic crime, there's still cooperation between accomplices of these criminals at potentially the fuel station, at fuel station. So don't let anyone see, not even the fuel attendant, not even whoever helps you push the trolley to your car at the mall. Don't let them look into your car. Don't let them come close to your car. There's stuff in there, and you never know who they're cooperating with. They make a quick phone call. They say at the next robot, listen, lady with a white Taz is coming. There's a laptop on the front seat. And then you're in a very very bad spot. So don't advertise all of the valuables you've got in your car.
I never ever accept one of the car attendants to take my trolley or bags. I never ever.
Keep them away from your car.
Again, it's not necessarily all that easy. Some people are less mobile. They have health problems, that sort of stuff. So for them, it's obviously a huge bonus if this guy is nice enough to help carry them. And obviously, they're not all potential criminals,
No, they're not.
As a general rule of thumb, because they will inevitably come and say, and also now, they see the gray hair, like they assume you're too old to carry this stuff. You need help now. So I just make an absolute.
And exactly, and that's where it comes in. Don't leave the laptop lying on your seat, even if they do come close. And you can't help it. Don't let them see you've got now valuable stuff, and that especially for us and for the viewers on this YouTube channel, that includes firearm equipment. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Don't let your range bag with a box of ammo stand there open in your car for someone to look at. It's so often that I walk past cars, say at the train station or in a parking lot of a mall, and I look into other cars and I see, man, there's a little CZ cap and there's a box of ammo, or there's a range bag and I can see it's a range bag. It's that Evo tactical range bag, whatever. Man, that is advertising. There's valuable stuff in there, even if there's not a weapon. Even if there's not a weapon or ammunition, there's hearing protection. There's things that you use for shooting. There's spare parts for your gun. There's springs and the like. There's cleaning equipment. There's a lot of valuable stuff. Don't advertise any valuable stuff that's in your car.
Yeah, it's an absolute pain in the butt, but it for businesses, the saying is it pays to advertise, but for your personal stuff, it
No,
certainly does not. You have
no,
to
no.
compensate for the fact that we have this crime problem. It's not to say that it doesn't
Yeah.
happen, because everywhere people get smashed and grabbed and so on. But here, it's really a scourge. Let's talk
No, it's
about
a statistic.
ambush.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a statistical game. So anything can happen, but you need to decrease the
Absolutely.
odds of it happening to you.
Yes. Bro, I want to talk about ambush and box-in scenarios.
Yeah.
Obviously, less frequent, but they do happen. You hear where people have been boxed in by a couple of taxis and so on. So it does happen. I tend
Yes.
to consider these as a little bit more coordinated attacks, because in order to box somebody in, there has to be a certain level of
Yes.
coordination between more than one
Organization.
vehicle.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
that to me makes it potentially more of a pre-planned thing, whether it's to hijack or whether it's a hit or whether it's they want to take you hostage, because that also happens. So what should a driver, and again, all of these topics literally flow into each other. You can actually
Yeah.
throw them all in one big bag and talk about all of them, cover them under the same sort of discussion. But
Mm.
when we're talking about ambushes and boxing scenarios, what should a driver do if you start seeing the signs of such a potential attack unfolding? Because there will be more
Yeah,
aggressive
there will be
maneuvering
signs.
from other vehicles that you can
Yes, there
start
will.
picking up. Yes.
Yeah, there will. There will. Okay, just before that, you touched on taxis. Is don't don't pick fights with taxis on the road. Okay,
Yes.
it may be a problem that's a little bit more particular to South Africa, and with the taxi drivers that we have, that's a big problem on our roads. But don't pick fights with them. Okay, they're gonna do what they're gonna do. Most of them, if not all of them, are armed. Okay, and they drive outside of the confines of road regulations and rules, so they won't squirm at pulling a gun on you or threatening you. Or there's hundreds of stories about taxi drivers throwing bricks at cars, damaging your car. So please don't.
Mm.
I know it's difficult because they've cut you off and they're driving like real menaces on the road, but don't pick fights with them. Okay. Secondly, if someone and a couple of vehicles are trying to box you in with the aim of hijacking, or they're laying an ambush in something like a slipway, or potentially in South Africa we've got toll gates, right? So the toll gates on the highway have lanes made of these concrete bollards. Okay, so you really cannot
Mm.
drive through or over them. What often happens is the car ahead of you is in on the hijacking, and the car behind you is also in on the hijacking. So the car ahead of you stops dead within this concrete lane, and the car behind you, as well as the car in front of you, then boxes you in, and you've got really nowhere to go. The worst case scenario that you mentioned is being kidnapped along with a hijacking. And that is
Mm.
something that's becoming more and more prevalent as well. Is someone saying, okay, well, we're not just going to take your car. You climb in the back seat. We've got two guys with guns on you. Let's drive to the ATM with you first, or let's take you for a ride through some other horrible area, or let's hurt you and kill you. This becomes especially risky for women, especially if they're driving alone. So they're prime suspects or prime targets for being hijacked and kidnapped as well. So okay, so if you're being boxed in, your first avenue should be to escape with your car. At that point, then, sidewalks or road signs or other cars, they absolutely just don't matter anymore. Okay, you don't want to get involved into a collision that stops the vehicle. Okay, but you then, if you need to scrape past another car, or if you need to climb a sidewalk and drive over a road sign, then that's what you do. Okay, if you need
Mm.
to if you need to climb over a sidewalk and one of your rims and one of your tires burst or gets damaged, it doesn't matter. You drive. Okay, you need to do everything available to you at all costs to get away. Okay,
Mm.
and the reason why I say that is there's no guarantee that that hijacking remains peaceful. There's no guarantee that those hijackers let you go without harming you. So in my mind, if there's even a risk, and the risk is significant, the risk is big, of a hijacking turning violent and you getting hurt in some way, or even killed, or hijacked, or sorry, not hijacked, kidnapped. And that to me is the absolute worst case scenario. And I shudder to think of that happening to me or someone that I love, because once they have you, there's absolutely no limit to what they can do with you. And often that ends up very, very bad, very, very bad. So get away.
Yeah.
The big thing is get away. If cars start driving in an erratic way around you, or you feel yourself starting to get boxed in, even if it's on your way to work, take a turn off the highway, even if it means you now have to drive a half an hour longer to home. Okay, it's not worth your life. Get off. Go to somewhere where you know, or you think there may be other people to help. So garages are a prime, place where you can go. There's cameras, but I mean, even then, there's no guarantee that those guys won't follow you there. So speed off as fast as you can. Try and break contact, get away from these cars, and try and get away as fast as possible. It's difficult. It's a difficult thing, because if they've got you, they've got you. But try your best to get away. Use your vehicle. And for those of us who carry weapons, don't in that point draw your weapon and start trying to fire at these bad guys. Okay, you're distracting and you're taking away from what's necessary in that moment. And what's necessary in that moment is for you to actually focus on driving. Okay, so drive like you've never driven before. Drive over sidewalks. Do whatever you need to do to get away with your car, even if that means damaging your car. It doesn't matter. You need to get away.
I've had a friend, a good friend, who I've had this conversation with. I just remembered it. This is years ago. And she said to me, she doesn't want to go over the pavement. So I said, why? She said, no, I don't want to damage my car. So
Exactly. People don't want to do that. It's against the road rules. It's not something we do daily, so we hesitant to do that. In that moment, you do whatever you do. You drive over anything and anyone, and you scrape past cars. At that moment, it's your life. So get away.
Listen, I'm certain your insurance company will understand if you explain to them what you were busy doing. I'm pretty certain.
There's so much of this happening. There's so much of this stuff happening.
Exactly.
Yeah, of course. But then,
and So sorry, Roux, when you see this, we see the videos of people stopping at complex, these security estates at the gates, and suddenly a car pull up behind them, and you can't control that because people are coming and going all the time. And the doors pop open and 3 or 4 guys rush out and just take your stuff, take your car. I mean, my attitude there is that boom, they can replace it afterwards. I'm going straight through. If I get the gap, I'm going straight through that boom to get 100%. Into this state. There's, I'll sort the problem out later, but for now, my immediate concern is I need to get, and if I've got people with me, I need to get us away from the guys with the guns. That's the immediate danger and threat. But again, if you're sitting there so unaware, you're not going to realize that the doors of the car behind you have popped open and the guys have jumped out and so on. No, and then you will surprise. Then you won't get a gap to drive through anything because it'll be over by the time you think about that.
Yes, no, that it
the
all
other
starts
thing
with
is
awareness.
I touched on this earlier, but I just want to come back to it, being followed, because again, that happens. If you suspect you are being followed, and again, we keep coming back to it, but you have to be aware of what's going on around you. What should you be looking out for to confirm that it is the case and not merely a coincidence? Because sometimes a car can be behind you for quite some time and they just so happen to be going in the same direction or even to the same destination. And what do you think are the safest moves you can make in a situation like that?
The method that's taught by so many civilian safety firms and us as well, and it's actually a really nice method is if you're somewhere like in a residential area, take 4 or 5 left turns, drive around the block. If someone, just to try and eliminate that this is a coincidence, because like you say, often it is a coincidence. But but take 4 or 5 left turns, drive around the block, see if the car still follows you. If you do suspect that, and if they then do, if you then establish that this car has now driven around the block needlessly, just as you have, then it's almost certainly someone that's following you. In that case, again, get away and get to somewhere where there's help waiting for you. Okay, so the first thing that I would do is I would call someone, okay, from within the car. I would tell them, I suspect I'm being followed. Someone close by. Can someone help? Can someone get in their car and come to where you are? Or can you phone a friend and say, hopefully a friend that's, you know, able to assist, potentially maybe that's someone that's armed, potentially someone that lives in a house with an entry port or a driveway that is more difficult for the attackers to actually get up or get into. Okay, and then so phone someone immediately. If you think someone is following you, phone someone. Any kind of evidence or information afterwards can help to later identify, you know, the suspects or the car. Then remain aware, don't panic. Take very good cognizance of what the type of car is. So then again, you need to say, okay, what is the car following me? Can I make out any of the characters in the number plate, in the registration? Can I say how many occupants are inside the car? Often, if the car is close enough, you can say, okay, there's only one person in the driver's seat, or it's a car packed full of people. So remain aware and gather as much information as you can. And then try and get away, you know, put foot, try and shake them somehow without, and we have to say this, don't drive like they drive on Need for Speed or whatever, you know, remain safe. The last thing you want to do is get into a head-to-head collision trying to get away from attackers, you know, so still drive safely, but try and get away, try and get to somewhere where someone can help you and phone someone. And certainly don't necessarily at that point, and I'm talking to all of the gun owners there, don't stop, get out of the car, draw your firearm and start firing. Okay, that's not the time or the place for that. Not the time or the place for that. So yeah, and then it's difficult, you know, just try and get away. But often, you know, if the car is following you and you're now driving past your house, don't drive into the driveway. Okay, if you even suspect, okay, you've now taken the last turn, the very last turn into the road into the street that your house is situated on, and there's someone behind you. You haven't spotted them following you for the last 10 or 15 minutes, right? But they're behind you now. If you get this spider sense, this tingling at the back of your neck, and you notice them, and you're just not entirely comfortable, don't drive into your driveway just then, okay? One of the biggest spots where people do get hijacked is in their own driveways. So as you drive up and you're now waiting for the gate to open, or maybe there's no gate, and you just stop in front of the garage doors. That's where they often try and block you in and box you in from behind. Then get out and then corner you and take your vehicle. Okay, so number one, notice that before it's too late. Don't drive into your driveway, drive a block around, and certainly you don't want to let them know, okay, that's your house. I mean, if they do get away, maybe next time, well, they know someone lives there, and they obviously, maybe you're driving a brand spanking new Audi, so they know you've got money. Maybe in a week's time, they come back for your TV or whatever, you know. Exactly. So don't drive into your driveway, drive around the block. If they still follow you, then definitely don't drive to your home. Then drive around, try to shake them, drive or call someone, like I said. If you do end up driving into your driveway and they do block you out, and they do sort of block you in so you can't get out, the videos and the information that we have indicates that if you put your car in reverse and you try and get out through your yard, whether that means driving through a fence or trying to drive into one of their cars, this doesn't constitute advice, but you do see those people actually getting away, and the attackers then becoming rattled. This isn't what they expected, so they then break off the attack. Some attackers flee immediately, other attackers sort of half-heartedly try and continue up until a certain point, but your biggest objective then is to get out. And if there's one of their cars in the way, then that's sad for them. You know, they try and get out, even if that does mean colliding to some extent with one of their cars. Then at that moment, you can't be squeamish for getting scratches on your car. It's about your life. It's about getting out. And you do see those guys surviving. It's because they've done something unexpected. It's because they've now rattled the attackers, because what the attackers expect when they show you a gun is for someone to completely submit immediately, to say, sorry, okay, no, take the car. If someone puts their car in reverse and they floor the accelerator, that's not what the bad guys expect. It's not what they expect you to do. So immediately their whole plan is kind of now compromised by the fact that you refuse to just be a victim that gives up. So keep that in
Yeah.
mind. The guys that do something, the guys that actually put foot, press the accelerator as hard as they can, try and get out. Those are often the guys that escape with their lives and with their vehicles.
Yeah, and it's very difficult to give advice and say, do this every time, because
Yes,
even if you do put it in reverse and you charge out, you bash their cars and stuff, he can still take a shot at you.
still.
Even if
No, absolutely.
maybe he gets a fright, maybe he gets angry, and that shot can still hit you or one of your passengers. So these
Absolutely.
things are so full of gray areas, and I think
Yes.
the constant to me is the situational awareness part.
Yeah.
But before we end, I want to just first touch on things like emergency stops or breakdowns, and under that, I also want to just touch on something that we see more and more of, spiking, when they put
Yeah.
spikes on the roads. Now, if it's an emergency stop or a breakdown, then usually the guys who target you, because you're very vulnerable there. So
Yeah.
they tend to be more opportunistic criminals.
Yes.
Whereas
Yes.
when it's a spiking, it's a very deliberate, planned thing. They want you to stop.
Yes.
So in both of those scenarios, in the one, if it's a breakdown or an emergency, then obviously you can't drive off. But with a
Yeah.
spiking, you probably can, even though your tires are deflated. What would you say are good ways to handle situations like these until help arrives on
Yes.
scene?
Absolutely. It's a big problem, the spikings. So like you say, it's more if you break down in an emergency and your vehicle really actually mechanically cannot carry on driving, then you're in a bad problem. I mean, the first directive would always be to drive the car, even slowly, to somewhere where there's light, cameras, and people, someone that can help you. Okay, but if it breaks down completely and you're next to the side of the road and it's dark, the first thing that I want to say is, please never assume that someone who approaches your vehicle is someone who's going to help you. Okay. Also, please never assume that an attacker is just going to take your belongings and not hurt you. There's so many instances of attackers or thieves approaching a car where the occupants and the victims actually are completely compliant. They completely cooperate, and still they get attacked and hurt and even killed. And that to me is a big worry, because you may say, okay, I'm now in this situation. I'm going to cooperate. I'm going to give this guy what he wants. But what he wants may be to hurt and kill you. Or if you're in the car with one of your occupants, I mean, there's such brutal and horrifying scenarios that can be sketched, and that has happened in South Africa, of people being kidnapped and raped and murdered purely because of mechanical breakdowns right next to the side of the road. Okay, so let's address that one first. Don't stay with the car. The car is a magnet for people who want to come and see what can they steal, what can they get. So if you're in a rural area and there's bushes or whatever, next to the side of the road, get away from the car, hide yourself as well as possible. Go into the bushes, hide behind a bush or a tree or whatever, and call someone. Then call for help. If you are familiar with the route and there's a garage like a kilometer away or a filling station like a kilometer away, then yes, get away from the car, walk to the garage. And in this instance, the worst thing that you can do is to stay with the car. Now, it gets complicated when you've got a lot of belongings in the car, say you're on the way to holiday, or if you've got tiny children or babies or whatever. The car's safe. Maybe it's cold outside. You can keep the heater on, whatever. Don't do that. Okay, get out of the car, get all of the valuables, all of the people, get out of the car, disappear into the bushes or walk to the closest aid station if it's not that far, if you know. Otherwise, just disappear, get away from the car, don't make yourself available to be attacked, and then call for help. Okay, and that means always having a charged cell phone with you. It means having some basic self-defense and first aid things with you in the car. And that's basic things that you would have. I mean, obviously, we advocate to be armed when you're in the car. We advocate to have basic first aid equipment and help equipment with you in the car. So take that and disappear into the bushes. If you are spiked, okay, this is now a deliberate attack. They are trying to target you, and they've got no indicator, they've got no way of knowing which cars will drive over the spikes. Okay, so this is not a car specific thing. It can happen to anyone in any car. Drive the car until it cannot physically drive anymore. If that means you write off your rims, then that's what you do. Okay. If you are driving along a road and it's dark and you drive over something, do not stop to see what it is. Do not stop the car. Do not get out. If you know it spikes and you can feel the car's wheels have been damaged, drive. You know it's an attack. Okay, so drive. Drive to the closest place. Drive as far as you possibly can. When you then eventually do have to stop, and I want to add, as soon as this happens, call someone. As soon as that happens, call someone, because often we get so caught up in looking at the dashboard and looking at what emergency lights, whatever. If you've got a passenger, tell the passenger, call someone. Call someone who can come and help. Call the police, call whoever. Tell them, call AA, road assist, call your insurance company. Tell them what just happened. Tell them where you are. Tell them to alert someone who can come and help you. If you've got a friend that can come and help, call them. Call whoever you can, right? Then drive as far as you can. If you are forced to stop, if the car cannot physically drive anymore, mechanically, I'm not saying it can't drive anymore because there's a light blinking, it cannot physically go anymore, then same procedure counts as with a mechanical breakdown. Get away from the car, get your valuables, get your people, get away from the car, hide yourself, okay? Don't make yourself available for attack, and then call someone or walk. Because you know that the attackers that are going to come at you after a spiking are very likely armed. They're very likely more than one, multiple people who are now there to bring the situation and you under control in the event that you try and fight back, right? And you've got no idea how many people that is. But you know, if you stay with the car, you are making yourself the target to how many ever people are coming to investigate or however. Okay, so I know it sounds weird. Disappear into the dark, nothing's going to happen to you. Crouch behind a bush. Don't advertise to anyone where you are until proper help arrives. Someone that you know, or the police, or whoever stops next to the side. I mean, even people that stop next to the side of the road. Don't automatically jump out and wave, "Here we are, please help us." They may be the attacker. So wait, look out, see who it is that climbs out first, see who it is. Is it someone really just genuinely trying to help? Then say, okay, I'm here, and then get away from the scene as quickly as possible. Leave your car there if it needs to. But our whole philosophy around that is your life is the most important thing. So get your life away from any potential danger situation.
Ruth, thank you. I want to end there. I mean, this is something that you can talk about all day long.
Yes.
I want to end there though, and before we end, if you can give one golden rule, just one, that can help anybody minimize the odds of ending up in a situation like that, just in closure, what would that golden rule be?
It's a no-brainer, and I think everyone in the industry and everyone who knows anything about these vehicle-related crimes and hijackings will agree is remain aware of your surroundings. That's the golden rule. And there can be a subset of a whole bunch of other stuff like leave your phone, don't make it available, but remain aware of your surroundings. Remain aware of what's happening around you. That is the major golden rule, and it extends further than just vehicle combat. It extends into other self-defense scenarios as well, but specifically for vehicle combat, remain aware of what's happening around you. Absolutely.
Bruce, thank you so much. Just for the viewers, we mentioned the Cooper color code a couple of times. If you're not certain what that is, start off by scrolling through the videos on this channel. There have been more than one video where we were discussing the Cooper color code and the OODA loop. You will hear that word, the OODA loop. And then also do some research on that so that you can start finding out and realizing how knowledge of that is extremely valuable to you when it comes to situational awareness. It really is the gift that keeps on giving. And then if you find value in these videos, please like the video, please subscribe to the channel, help us grow. And if you're interested in finding out more about the lone operator training courses, there is a link below the video. Click on that to learn whatever you have to. And then if you still have gray areas, contact them and have a word. And hopefully we see you on one of those courses one of these days. Roux, thank you so much for spending time with us. I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Riaan. Great to talk to you again. And to the viewers, remember to do all of the things like subscribe and everything that Riaan said.